I'm gonna write a bit about my roommate who I was with for a month. He said he was ready to rock and roll. Not musically. He was talking about death. He was saying he was ready to die. I've experienced everything I wanted to. I asked him if he wanted to travel more, but he said at this point it's not really worth the bullshit you have to go through. I've had money, I've had no money. At this point, I just don't want to hurt my family, but aside from that, yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll. The house looked like shit in places where the old roommate, the one who left and told me I could pitch a tent in the backyard, had punched holes and broken windows and doors. Other than that, the place was pretty immaculate because Dan, that was his name, was a clean freak. He worked hard and said he wanted to come home to a nice place. The damage, though, only accumulated when I was there because there was a couple of incidents where someone had mysteriously broken in. One memorable night, with sweat pouring down his bald head and alcohol running through him, Dan viciously dismantled the couch that the intruder, whoever that was, had damaged when they came crashing through the window. It was Matt's couch. That was the name of the guy who left. Dan hated the couch for some reason, maybe only because Matt liked it. Before destroying it, Dan considerately told me to cover my eyes, and swinging this tiny little hammer, he chopped it into 3 pieces that I then helped him drag onto the front lawn where they would lay next to Matt's big blue SUV that was left behind, needing some work. A day later, he would eliminate most of the old couch in the fire pit in the backyard. It was the same fire pit that glowed on the very first night in my tent as Matt and a few of his friends drank and blared the radio. But I had slept regardless. I'd been exhausted when those guys took me in. I remember shouting, "Thank God," into the forest that encompassed their little house, an outburst that was a little out of character for me. It took most of my strength the night the couch was destroyed to help him carry its replacement, a much newer looking couch, up from the basement. I nearly dropped it a couple times, and it was 2 in the morning at this point, and I would have otherwise been in bed. But it was satisfying. It matched the love seat anyways. It actually looked way better in the living room now. The shop vac he used to suck up the debris, I returned that to the basement. His violent demonstration, it turned out, had ended in tidy equilibrium. But you know what the scary thing is? I am God. The scary thing wasn't that he was God. He was pretty scary either way. It was a little bit scary that I almost believed him when he said it, on some level anyways. Maybe part of it was the look in his eyes. He was all revved up one night talking about Matt, why he was a low human being. He left without paying rent. He never warned him or said anything about leaving beforehand. I mean, why should he though? I didn't say stuff like that. The damage and the break-in seemed definitely related to Matt, if not done directly by him. Only he had a new union job and it would have been tough for him to make it all the way back and damage the house. Whoever it was had stolen turkey from the fridge, and I told him it wasn't me. Dan would call me at work with requests or complaints, and this time it was, "Hey, did you happen to make a sandwich earlier or something?" "All right, then it was Matt. That fat bastard, I knew it was him." Whoever it was only left 2 slices, and Dan wondered why they wouldn't just take it all. Some Coke was gone too, I noticed. Yeah, Matt loves Coke. Dan had changed the locks once Matt left, and I was thinking this would be enough to piss Matt off. But Dan had his own theory and said that he owed a cocaine dealer $700, and maybe Matt told someone that there was something valuable in the house or something. He had no idea, though, and even got kind of defensive when I asked him what he thought about it and what the cops were going to do about it. Dan said he was good friends with a few of the cops and they were going to look into it. I don't know, man. You'd have to ask them. If I could read minds, I'd tell you. I was surprised to hear they both did cocaine, though. I knew they drank a lot. Matt was a big guy, and I almost thought he was retarded or something, the way he acted every time I would deliver food to the house. But it was just something Dan called wet brain. He would black out and throw tantrums when he was on the phone with his girlfriend. Another little odd detail, there were still pictures of a little girl hanging in the room I was sleeping in. I was puzzled by the photos and trying to find similar facial features, but Dan assured me the kid wasn't Matt's, but belonged to a friend of theirs. Yet Matt paid child support and apparently punched holes in things when he was on the phone with her mom. But I try to be a good person and treat others how I want to be treated, but it just backfires, I guess. Fuck it, though. You know what? I wish him the best. I really don't need to fight him. I'm not that guy anymore. So long. Let God take care of him. But you know what the scary thing is? I am God. Dan would go on rants like this where he actually revealed a lot about himself, his whole life story almost, an entire world of knowledge I never saw when I brought pizza to the house. He would apologize for jumping topics, but I didn't mind one bit. I learned who that guy was, that he used to be, the guy who beat people up. He told me how when he was young, like 20, working in the electric union with his dad making $30 an hour, he bought his girlfriend a $4,000 car. When he found her and one of his good friends together in the car on a night when she told him she wasn't feeling well, he shattered the glass and ripped the guy right out of the seat. I think he said he broke the glass. But anyways, he went to jail on what's called a mayhem charge, which is when you disfigure someone, which he did. He broke his cheekbone with the steel-toed boot he was wearing. He got a year but only served 9 months due to good behavior. When I really think about it, I don't think I'm any less afraid of a guy who behaves well in prison amongst other violent criminals. He claimed as well that a black guy in Boston had held a gun to him and he grabbed it right from him and beat the crap out of him, and then handed it right back to the guy's friend and said, "I don't want it," and walked away. If someone wants to hold a gun to me, they better be ready to pull the trigger, 'cause I'm gonna yank it right from them. 'Cause I'm really all set with life. I'm gonna go get out of here and be with my dad. His dad had died some years earlier. I'm not sure quite when. But Dan said it was why he quit the electric union. It was something he had always done with his dad. He gave his dad CPR but couldn't bring him back. He said he still sleeps in the blanket his dad died in. He landscapes now, with his brother's company. That's about it, though. I just wanted to finish this. Really, the only other thing about him mainly was that his sister had died too, from heroin, right on the dad's birthday. He explained that it was basically murder, but that didn't align with it being on the dad's birthday. It was only a few months ago in the spring, and he still wasn't over it at all. He would sit in his room and skip work. He said one night he was gonna kill the guys responsible. I'm gonna get in the best shape of my life and go in there like a ninja. But he won't. I think deep down he knows who it was. She stole guns too from the dad and had been to jail. In my time with him, I pretty much learned the guy's life story. I had given him $400 and gone from sleeping in the tent, the couch that he destroyed, the new couch, to the queen-size bed in Matt's room where I was surrounded, like I said, by pictures of the daughter that wasn't his. We burnt the tent in a huge fire Dan started a few weeks into my stay. He started it with a piece of debris the intruder had wrecked, like this little counter thing that stuck out near the door. He ripped it out of the wall like wooden flesh. The fire grew way over our heads, and I was afraid we were going to get in trouble. He said the cops had already been there a few times because of the fires and sprayed it with a hose to tame it somewhat. I was a little worried, but amazed at the same time, staring up at it as little white flecks rained down. He told me a story about a kid he knew getting badly burned in Hingham Harbor back in high school. That's right. Oddly enough, Dan was from Hull. He told me the fire would go almost all night and the embers would still be hot in the morning. I tried to keep it going as long as I could, but it died around 2 a.m., and I was left with a glowing orange cauldron that radiated heat. It almost looked like a portal into perhaps the underworld of the past, or just the Earth's molten core. I was glad the tent was gone. It was a real piece of shit and it was impossible to set up. Yeah, throw it in, Dan had said. Throw it in and say you're never going to live in a tent again. He lost his keys in the fire somehow, too, along with something sentimental, some piece of leather his dad had given him. I gave him mine, and he said he would make a copy, but he never did, and I didn't care. Somehow I knew I wouldn't be needing them. He called one day and had spontaneously decided to leave because of the break-ins, all the damage, plus Matt said he might come back. He said I could stay the night, but I anxiously packed up and went back to sleeping in my car.